Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 show brought to you by FranCoach. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me as always is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
Every week on the Franchising 360 show, we're going to take a 360 degree look at the franchising industry. We're going to discuss things like what you need to know to determine if you should own a franchise. If so, how to find the best franchise for you, tips to succeed once you are a franchise owner, as well as how to take your existing business and turn it into a franchise. Today, we're going to talk about something there's a lot of fear around people looking at maybe becoming a franchise owner. There's a lot of different things but one of them is that addiction that they have. So we're going to be addiction counselors of sort tonight.
Sort of. That's a scary word in itself, right? Like, what am I addicted to, Tim Parmeter?
Well, in this case, it is the dreaded paycheck that your employer is giving you every 2 weeks.
I don't think people realize they're addicted to it.
Yeah, until all of a sudden
But that's why it's called an addiction, yes?
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yes, exactly. So this might be an intervention of sorts tonight on this, and to understand some of the things that, again, there's some misconceptions of that along the way. So, things like the paycheck that we get addicted to.
Yep.
You know, the other big one, like the B word, like
benefits.
Oh my good. I know. Benefits, insurance, the 401k.
All the things you look for when you're looking for a job.
Right. And
that you're afraid you're not going to have.
Right.
If I do something for myself.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about all of that.
Right. Then there's also the R word. You know that one?
Retirement.
Look at
me.
I know. You're killing it today.
Score 2.
And the last two, one starts with a W and one starts with an E. You got those two?
No.
Wealth and equity.
Oh.
Right? Oh. You totally get those in a job, right? Oh, wait. Not so
much. Maybe. If you're smart about it.
Right. But, right. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of those fears and how to overcome them, things to think about, and how it really, sometimes why staying employed may actually be your biggest risk.
True. So we're myth busting risks with business ownership.
We are myth busting, folks here. But that's what's coming. But we got to start things off really with the fun stuff of our Friday franchise fun facts starring Danielle Wright.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm here. It's for the fun facts, right?
It's your car that drives us here. So there is that.
So I don't know that it's a fun fact, but, here lately we've been looking at franchise options, right? Because we're not W-2 employees.
No.
But fun little observation of the franchising world is that we're seeing unique franchise concepts come about. So recently we've been looking at a lot of tech-driven opportunities, and fun thing that I came across are the guys that created Topgolf. We love Topgolf. Yes. I think a lot of viewers have been to Topgolf. It even makes the person that doesn't know golf feel like they're good at golf, right? They're starting another concept called Pool House with billiards, upscale lounges, like taking all of the fun things that you do and creating a social environment for those things outside of maybe your house and maybe your intimate friends and at a bar that you don't want to be at. So I think it's kind of cool that we were just recently somewhere with something similar, weren't we?
Well, I was going to think two things is one, and we've talked about this before, the kind of like golf simulator thing. So again, that tech forward piece. We were just in Vegas for a concert to see your dear friend, Ken Chesney, but at a dart place. I forget what it was called now.
Flight Club,
right?
Yes.
And, nice, kind of cool, little bougie type of thing. There's a dartboard, different games.
Use the word bougie.
And, the beauty for most people with the dart game there is it didn't require math.
Yes.
Because it did it for you. Again, tech forward.
And it was gamification, right? So you still could order food, you still had drinks, you still had a social element to it. There was the restaurant piece to it, but I like how they're taking some old school games and kind of adding a fluff to the experience.
Finding a fun way to, again, have that experience, right?
So that's what's fun and interesting in franchising. I guess it's a fun Friday fact, but
And the fear from the things we're going to talk about from an employment standpoint, we hear that a lot too, is things that are like, more emerging, that have kind of a new spin on things. And, that definitely is. I know we're seeing a lot of that in the golf. There's the pickleball, right? And we saw the one with darts. There's a new one that's like racing as well.
Yeah, I saw that too, right? Like grown-ups racing cars.
I know. I was ready to jump in there on that one.
It kind of beckons back to, I'm sure I've never been, I think maybe you might have been, but the axe throwing franchises, like there was a period of time that was awesome until you realize we're throwing axes and we're allowing people to drink, which is a little bit of fear. So when you talk about the risk of stepping away from your W-2 job for a business, hey, I love doing that for fun, but I don't know that I want to lose my paycheck over it either.
Right. And we've talked about this before. That could be one of those where you do both, right? Yeah. And keep that and move forward. But when we come back today from the break, let's talk a little bit about some of the things and why possibly staying employed could actually be a bigger risk than jumping in and becoming a franchise owner. That and more next here on the Franchising 360 show. We are back here on the Franchising 360 show. I'm Tim Parmeter along with Danielle Wright, and we are talking about how potentially keeping your job can be an even bigger risk than jumping in and being a franchise owner, which seems kind of crazy. I guess first off, how in the heck is that even possible?
To have fear or drop your job?
Like how can that be a bigger fear? There's a lot of things that go with that, right?
Well, I think if you look at it differently, you'd started the segment off of addiction, right? So every Friday, every 15th and 30th, every other week, I don't know. Right. It's been a while.
Something like that, right?
But you kind of it's coming, and if it doesn't come, you get a little scared, but you know that you show up to a job and your check's going in the bank every week. And so one would say that becomes a little bit of an addiction. Right. And so losing that paycheck or not having that every other week, you're like, cause don't you plan your bills around it and all of those things? So I think the addiction to a paycheck is real.
Without question. Right.
And I think when you're thinking about, okay, do I go into business ownership? Do I keep my job? Like, what are those risks? And you're talking fears. Like, there's just so many elements to it.
Yeah. And the fear that I think people forget with the paycheck is it's your paycheck until they decide they don't want you anymore.
Right.
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 Then what? Cause again, we can choose to leave one job and go to another.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. But like at some point in your life and in your career, that company is going to decide they're not going to pay you anymore.
Right. And that's happening a lot right now. Like I know a bunch of people that have been recently laid off and are having a hard time finding another job. Yep. So it's a reality for a fear, but you're talking about the value of a job long-term versus a franchise. I think that's something that we definitely need to talk a little bit more about.
Yeah. Cause we'll hear at FranCoach, our team will talk to folks and again, it's a fear producing statement, but like, oh, well, I have this job. I get paid X. I need to replace that salary as a franchise owner. Right. And it's one of the first kind of fallacies of this. And we'll go through like a mathematical exercise with them. I'm like,
complicated math?
No,
I'm out.
It's pretty simple. So if you are making your salary is $150,000 a year. Right. So
I signed the letter. Like you're paying me.
I have to replace my salary of $150,000. First thing is no, you don't, because you don't make $150,000.
Hold on.
Okay. Cause there's that whole pesky thing called taxes.
Right.
Right. So you're probably
and contributions to things and
you're probably taking home 105, something like that when you start really doing the math. Now, once you get that money, now you're going to pay for all of your bills. Those things are going to include things like your car, the gas that goes in it, the insurance for the car,
your mortgage,
your cell phone,
your mortgage
if you
insurance.
have an office, in your house, the shirt you're wearing, just work every day. You paid for that shirt and went to work, right?
Correct. For somebody else.
Yes. Right.
Got it.
Now, when you are a business owner, all of those things we just talked about, you don't pay for out of your pocket. Your business pays for it.
Well, technically.
Right. So you have to be a little like borderline, almost schizophrenic of this nice little shirt that I'm wearing. Whoops, this side. That's Travis Matthew. Thank you for the sponsorship. This is the FranCoach side. Little Tim didn't buy this shirt. FranCoach bought it as, again, promotional and marketing wear, right? So when you can kind of almost do that side by side with folks, it's eye-opening to see how many things they are paying for that would not have to be paid for directly by them.
Yeah, because your net paycheck is for services rendered, not all of the personal expenses that you have thereafter.
Right. And you know this because you've been in this industry forever, but like people are going to talk about as owners, have you ever heard anybody talk about a write-off? Like, right? So, and you want to talk about something there, I know, but when you think of that, those write-offs are reducing how much tax you have to pay at the end of the year. And really your goal is try to figure out a way to make that as close to zero at the end. So I don't have to pay Uncle Sam.
Disclaimer, he's not a CPA.
I am not a CPA. I can barely spell CPA.
We're like, oh goodness gracious.
And like your funny thing that goes with the write-off is what?
No.
You don't want to share that?
No, fine. The funny thing is for anyone that's watching, that has watched Schitt's Creek, like, it's a very funny show. Yes. And he talks about write-offs. So YouTube it, you'll find it. It's very funny about what is a write-off and what is not a write-off.
And what is not. But there are a great many of them. And so just understanding that whatever that salary is that you're supposed to have to replace.
Right.
Is really probably close to half of that.
Right. And I think when you're evaluating franchise opportunities and you're talking to franchise owners and the validation stage, like they'll never tell you how much they're making, right? Like they'll never tell you their W-2 personally. And if you're one of those people, like I am in my business, I pay myself as I am an employee of the business because it makes things a little bit easier from a tax perspective and making sure everything is steady state.
Right.
And I went from a W-2 job to doing these things. You went from a W-2 job to owning your own business. It's a hard shift from hey, I know how to pay my bills now. Just gets a little bit weirder. So you have to document everything. But to the point of the whole episode is to kind of like, you're devaluing yourself. Your job is not a value to you. You are employed by someone. So your income is, I think we just interviewed someone. She's like, I just asked for $52,000 for the year. And we're like, okay. And that was tough. And that's where you'll probably sit for the foreseeable future.
Right. And then got let go probably in part because now all of a sudden they're paying that person too much. And
correct.
And I think when you realize before we go to break, if you're like, I got to replace the salary and you realize it's probably close to half of what your salary is that you need to actually replace, that's not nearly as daunting. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the quote benefits that you risk and fear losing with that job and how maybe it's not so bad. That and more here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. We are talking about kind of the addiction of having that job, that paycheck, how that fear can really kind of keep people from making this jump into franchise ownership. Part of that fear and that addiction is also, oh my gosh, but Danielle, what about my benefits?
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot. Because like you said in the previous segment, we were talking about, hey, income replacement. You're not really making as much as you think you are from that salary space, but health insurance, 401k, all of the plus that an employer gives you. What do I do about health insurance? I've got 3 kids. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. Like that, you don't want to risk it.
Right.
How do you really replace it? And I think you've had some recent conversations, even with some people that we were looking to bring onto the FranCoach team, how that really works. So can you walk us through some of that?
Well, yeah. And again, I go back to just our number one thing at FranCoach is properly educate people on franchise ownership. Cause there are some things that people have fear of that we might kind of like almost roll your eyes that that's a fear. This is legit stuff to be afraid of, because when all you've ever had is a job and they pay you and they provide your quote benefits of the health insurance and the 401k, you kind of lose sight. Most people, if you ask them how much of the insurance are you actually paying for, they've got no clue, because rarely is that company paying 100%.
Yeah, that doesn't happen much anymore.
So is being able to understand of, number one, as a franchise owner or business owner, your business is paying for your insurance. FranCoach pays for my health insurance, right? That is, again, a business expense for that. To me, one of the benefits this way is it's personalized, right? You're an employee, you're getting kind of whatever that they are handing down for you.
Right.
Oh, they've got great benefits. They change
it every year, or they change the
or something changes in your life.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, we just popped out a baby number 1. Right? I'll tell you more about that later. So but those things are, you just kind of have to take what they have, versus as an owner, like, again, you get to pick and choose what that plan looks like. And oftentimes it's going to be way better for you when you're able to do that.
Yeah. And I think, again, the fear piece of that is I still have to come out of pocket with it. Let's have some realities here, because you're talking big, wonderful things, but for the viewers, you're still going to have to cut that check, right? It's still coming from an account that has money in it, that hopefully your business is making money so that it's paying that. But to your previous statement, from the write-off perspective, there are added benefits to paying for your own benefits. Like even 401ks, you can talk about that more than I can, but.
So and it's a slightly different thing, but as a business owner, I have a 401k. We contribute to it every year. Thanks to Luke at Edward Jones in Gilbert, Arizona for that. But and I have my business CPA who bullies me into maxing that out. So again, it's also helping how much tax I have to pay, which is usually how she gets me to do that. Is like, would you rather pay the government or pay yourself and contribute to this 401k?
And it's important for the viewers to know, like, when you're going to go down this path of the research, right? Like, it's okay to be fearful of losing your job, but seek counsel and advice. There are CPAs out there. There are professionals, advisors, people that can kind of walk you through the economics. Like, don't let them make the decision for you, but come powered with the knowledge.
Yeah. And probably if you're using somebody from a personal standpoint to do your taxes, it's not going to be the same person, right? Not. It is specific somebody for small business, right? If it's a financial planner, again, the same thing.
Sponsors locations in metropolitan markets called SCORE, SCORE. Like, it's a free service to anybody that wants to go to learn more about things like this and to find those referral partners that can kind of guide you through that.
And I think one of the other things that, again, can get lost in this, how that can benefit you as a business owner, financial planners, accountants, CPAs, they're great, like, connectors in the community, right? And so now whatever that business is, I promise you they will help promote.
And they can help from the benefits perspective. Like, we're talking specific health insurance. Health insurance is a big reason why people stop looking at franchise opportunities. They can bridge the gap on the financial side, but the health insurance piece has stopped many people I've talked to. Like, how do I get health insurance? And I think what we've talked to people about is, like, healthcare.gov. They have representatives. People can talk to you. Go ask the questions and get those answers.
And it's personalized. It's literally, what's your situation? What do you want? What are you looking for?
What's your budget? Right?
What's your budget? So, all of those things.
Yeah. It's all there. We're not trying to say don't have fear around that. We're just saying that there are plenty of resources to help kind of minimize that fear.
Yeah. It's, again, the education piece. I'm scared of this, but why? Is it real or not?
Right.
And oftentimes it's not. The other piece of this, from an ownership standpoint, we want to hit up when we come back. Is kind of the wealth and equity component of this.
Ties to all of these things, right?
Which does, yes, you're walking away from the salary. Yes,
that
you have
addiction to the paycheck.
Figure out your benefits on your own.
Addiction to the paycheck.
What is the benefit to all of this? It's the wealth and equity. And so a little bit more on what that looks like when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show, brought to you by FranCoach. I'm Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. Danielle, the addiction to the job, to the paycheck, the benefits, but are there some of the other benefits that you have as a business owner? Wealth building, equity building. What the heck does that mean?
I don't know. What does that mean?
Oh, I was hoping you had the answer.
So I know that you don't build wealth and equity by working for somebody.
Right.
Right.
If I quit my job, right, I've got a job, I'm making my $150,000.
Because there's no value. That's why I write a resume. I mean, there's personal value, but I'm writing a resume to get another job.
Right. When I quit, do I get to sell that job to the next person?
No.
Right. Can I pass it on to my kid? I'm promised, like, Junior's really bright and all.
Oh.
Right, okay.
Yeah, no.
So with the business.
And then if I don't want to do it anymore, I've lost the income.
My favorite one is, what if I want to keep doing the job? I want the same paycheck, but I'd like to back off a little bit. So, hey, boss, I'm going to work about 15 hours a week, but you pay me the same, okay?
Deal.
Right? How fast until security's in there with a box escorting?
I don't know that it's fast, but they're definitely posting the job description. You better be watching Indeed for your job there, bro.
Those type of things, the advantage of that control over, again, run the business as long as you want and then sell it, pass it on to family.
When you're saying equity and value and wealth, like a lot of that is your time.
Yeah.
Right? So does that hold any value for you? Is your time?
Great segue. It's a little industry term here. We call a segue from one to the next. Because all next week, we're going to talk about time as an owner.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So let me write that down really fast. Right. But again,
we forget.
That wealth and the equity. So let's be honest. If you're going to go leave a job to start a business, are you going to go backwards in how much money is coming in right off the bat?
Probably.
Right.
Right.
But the ceiling, you're controlling that.
Correct. Right. Because if you get a job at 150, maybe you're capping yourself. Like that's as far as you're going to.
Hey, 2%, Danielle, that's your raise next year. Great job.
Right. For all of the added extra, so forth and so on. But let's talk about wealth and equity because they're not always together. They can be separate.
Yes.
So what's the wealth component? Tell me where I make.
You're in control of the money that you are building up in that bank account and how you're doing your investments from there. And then the more that the bigger the business or the better it's running, the more it's going to be worth if you choose to sell it.
So you kind of got to have both.
Right. And so again, you're making all the money along the way, controlling your time. But then again, you have now an asset that can be sold.
Got it.
Right. And so that's the other piece of it. If it feels scary to think about leaving your job, good. It should. This is part of what our team's going to talk about is why do you want to leave and what does good look like on the other side?
Right.
Right. So, and then you talked about time. Next week, is the Friday before, frankly, the most important holiday of the year, at least one of the top 2 or 3, Father's Day.
Okay.
We get ignored, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know that you do.
Yes.
I'm already.
Mother's Day, blah, 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 all this stuff. But it's Father's Day. But part of that is kind of how that impacts the time element of why people do this and controlling that.
Yeah. Again, gets rid of the addictions and opens themselves up to wonderful things.
And then as a business owner, and then when you have a TV show, you get to do things like this. Today, June 6th, is the 80th birthday of my mom. So happy birthday to Grandma Trish. Not a chance in hell she's watching this, but you never know.
Okay.
And we just missed the 12th birthday of my kid, Logan, I believe is his name. So happy birthday to him. And he's definitely not watching because he's watched it a couple of times and is like, Dad, I ain't watching you.
Yeah, but that's a story for another day.
That's the story for another day. He's a kid. He's not supposed to think we're cool.
Let's talk about the wealth and equity piece. Like, there you go.
So
transition.
But it'll have to be nice because then he wants to acquire, like, own the business someday or get the wealth and equity from it.
Okay.
So
perfect.
But until next week, we've got some kind of tease ups to how impacting or how owning a business can impact that time with your family and really control all of that. So that is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
I am Tim Parmeter, and this has been the Franchising 360 show. We'll see you next week.